Hello, welcome to the A to Z Studios YouTube channel. My name is Toby Allen. I'm the A in A to Z, and I'm the producer in the studio. Today we're going to be looking at the brand new amp sim from Odahome Audio, Thall amp, which I'm really excited to try because I've been a big fan of Buster ever since I came across his stuff through Nail the Mix in February 2020. And yeah, so I'm really excited to try this out. So before we do anything, let's hear how it sounds in the context of a mix. All right, that sounded pretty gnarly. So for that, I used this guitar here, which is my Solar A1.6FBB-29, which is a 29-inch scale length guitar tuned to D sharp, also known as the Optimus tuning, because that's going to be used by Optimus in Bloody Pineapples on the next record. It's got an Evertune on there as well, which is particularly useful for tuning that low. And this has got NYXLs, 20 to 80, I think. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's the 8-string set, but without the top 2 strings, basically. We also use the Odahome drums, and for bass, I just used this, and I matched it to a bass and ran it into Bogren STD. So let's have a look at the interface itself. We're using the preset here, Jesse Zaretti RDS 220. If you're not familiar with Jesse Zaretti, go look him up. He is absolutely awesome. He's a member of Darth. He also does a lot of composing and stuff. He's helped me personally with composing for one of my albums that's coming up. And you'll see more of that on the channel at some point. Anyway, he also does a lot of Argent music and stuff, which is really, really cool. So what we have here, I'm just going to run through the different sections of the GUI. First off, you have here your input. So you can see there's a meter on there for your input. You can calibrate the input. So you can see there it's saying that I'm pretty close, 0.4. So what I've got set up on my interface is pretty close to correct. You've got a DI match here section here, which you can press here to. Oh, let's turn the volume on. And then it makes out an EQ of your guitar, and then you can smooth that out to be less detailed. You can make it more, give it more amount, and then I'm not sure why, but I don't have any tone profiles to match to. So if you have tone profiles, hang on, Solar Barry, you can save that, and then okay, forget that. So I don't have any tone profiles in here right now, but if you did, you could then DI match to that. Over in the shape section, we've got a gate. I have this quite aggressive, because if you listen to it with it off, and then even with the lower settings, it's quite slow if you do the low settings, so I go aggressive. Then it's very quick. You've then also got this chug function here, which adjusts the strength of the chug processor. So this is from Buster's normal chain, where he has plugins. He has like loads of plugins going into his amp sim, and one of the things he has on there is I'm not sure whether it's like a dynamic compressor or dynamic EQ, which is put in place to emphasize the chugs. But essentially, that's what's going on there. You can increase the strength of it with this, and then you can choose the frequency of it with this. So if we put the chug on full to make it easier to hear what it's doing, and then we can change the frequency to show what difference does that makes? So that's 48 hertz. Take it up to say 100, and then a bit more. You can hear it going up. And if you go all the way up to 2.5, makes it really clanky. And then if you take it to about 1K and bring this down a little bit, it gets quite genty. So if I'm trying to get a genty tone, I'll often put an EQ in front of the amp that's boosting 1K. So essentially that's what's going on here. And yeah, it does that job as well. So but it does it kind of a bit more dynamically than just a static EQ. So let's go back to the preset. And then the next thing we have here is low dirt. So that's essentially a fuzz. It's like a just crazy fuzz, and as you turn that dial there, you're changing the percentage of how much that is being blended in before the amp. So at 0 you've got nothing. If you go 100 you've got absolutely ridiculous, but very tasty for the right kind of sound. And then obviously if you go like say 50, that is ridiculous. I quite like that for slower sections, like, you know, when you have that classic, the riff comes back but slower and you want it to like really hit hard in the breakdown, then yes, I will add the fuzz. The next thing along here we have is the pitch. So you've got a whammy. You can go all the way from -24 to +24. So let's just take it down an octave first. And then one thing you can do to kind of clean up when you're using the whammy is this cleanse button, which then means it disables the low dirt, the thicken, and the thicken section, so that those are not getting in the way of muddying things up when you use the whammy. So if I had to take it back off again, and if we were to put the dirt on there, it's just insane. So then you use the cleanse, and it just tightens up and makes it a bit more tidy. Let's take it all the way down to 2 octaves down. That is definitely not your kind of everyday tone, is it? That's the sort of thing you'd want to use as an effect rather than like your tone for a whole song. And then the whammy, obviously you can go up, so let's go up to octave. Now for rhythm that sounds absolutely terrible, but well, maybe it sounds right if you're doing some kind of really nasty sound. So like, I think the way that the whammy sounds really good for this kind of music in particular, when you're using the sort of dissonant stuff. So I've got the D and the D sharp happening at the top here. So I can just... The reason I have that tuning is so I can play that anywhere on the fretboard without extra stretches. But then you can go the whammy all the way up. And yeah, that is really nasty, but again, it's really cool because you can just do that for like certain sections of a song, just like and then you have your squealies up high. If you're doing that, then obviously you'd want to automate that in your DAW to be able to do that on the fly, so to speak. But yeah, I think that's really cool. And then the thicken here, basically you've got a octave down, which is then running if you press this button here, is running parallel, and you can, yeah. So this button here makes it go parallel. So you have an octave down running parallel to your normal tone, and then you have this here is giving you the percentage. So if you go all the way up to 100% with no dry signal, if you go all the way down here, that's a dry signal with no thicken. Now if you bring it up a little bit, you can hear that the octave down is blended. But then what you've got here is a high cut. So you have a high cut on just the octave down. So if you go all the way up here, so there's essentially no high cut. You've got an octave down on everything. But if you bring it down to say like 100 hertz, or 84 as it says on there, then you've only got the octave operating below 84 hertz. So only the lows are then receiving that sub-octave treatment. And then a really clever thing here as well you've got is this pitch latency. So when you're running the when you're running an octaver, it will add latency to your signal. If you're using parallel, your dry will be fine and your octave will be delayed, and then you've got this button here which compensates for that by adding the same amount of latency to the dry signal, so they are synchronized and in phase. And I just think that's a really nice touch, really smart move to add that. Then we've also got a tuner, which is really cool because it's a strobe tuner, so you can be very precise with your tuning, which is very nice. It's particularly useful when you're doing your intonation. You can be very, very bang on precise with a strobe tuner, so that's very nice to have. Then you've got here, this is the actual amp itself, so you can imagine this being your amp head. Buster is known for using Nameless by Neural DSP, as well as Big Bottom in Pod Farm and Badonk in Helix. I've also seen him using the free version of Roots by ML Sound Lab. So I don't actually know whether this is based on any one of those in particular, or whether it's like a combination of them, or whether it's something completely new, but it definitely has that Buster sound to it. So it's something that's a familiar sound, but I just don't know which one of those sounds it specifically is based on. I feel like it's probably going to be Big Bottom or Badonk, because that one, those are just classic. So let's run through the controls on there. I'm going to turn off chug, and I'm going to turn off thicken, so that they are not distracting from us. This is where it's at the moment. And then I'm going to set everything to noon. I mean, it's pretty close to noon already on most of that, but let's bring the drive right down to, let's say, 7%. That's a nice amount of drive. You can go a bit more. And then, yeah, let's just go through the EQ. So, sorry, all the way on the lows. Those are lows completely cut off. I think that might sound good for like a lo-fi, and then you go. That's just too much. In fact, that's actually clipping, so let's turn it down. To be honest, that's still usable, but I think it's probably because we've got this low cut here that's then operating after that. But I think like there, that's more reasonable. Mids, we're going to cut. Sounds like we've gone from Big Bottom to Line 6 Insane. Yeah, with a bit of scoop, that still sounds great. And then a bit of boost. That's far too much. And then let's go with the highs. So let's cut the highs. Oh, that gets really harsh really quickly. Feels like noon is pretty much the maximum I'm going to want to take that. I'm not really going to want to go any higher than that. I guess it depends if you were using a different IR, it might sound alright. Presence, let's go with nothing. Again, noon sounds pretty good, but I feel like when you boost that one, it's a more pleasant way to boost the highs than the high knob is, for my taste at least. So then we've got output. Oh, lo-fi. That's cool. So we've got a lo-fi button there as well. Then you can adjust your output. You've also got a high cut and a low cut. So those are fairly self-explanatory. Let's try a different external cabinet. I'm going to try an ML Sound Lab Reflex. Sound Lab, there it is. Let's go with Gent 30 Perfect. You're losing a lot of low end when you're on with that one. Let's try one from Bogren. Classic one I used to use a lot on when I was doing lots of amps in demos is Vikings. Again, sounds like a lot of low end is lost. So it does sound to me like the amp is designed to go specifically into that IR, and that's the way that the amp is geared up. So anyway, I think it's a really cool amp sim. I think it's really exciting to see something different, something that is outside the norm. I've always thought that it would be exciting to see amp sims that are designed to do things that are not physically possible to do in the real world with an analog amp, and this very much does that. You've got the chug processor on there, you've got the thicken, which you probably could do with pedals but would be a real pain, and then you've got the blendable dirt. Again, there's not many pedals that can do that in real life, so it's really exciting to see what is being done here, and I hope that there's more amp sim makers that do more fun and experimental things like this. So I would definitely recommend trying out the demo on this one. If you are not playing low-tuned guitars, if you're not playing Gent Thall, Argent Metal, low-tuned new metal, that kind of stuff, if you're playing more like thrash metal and that kind of thing, then this probably isn't for you. But if you do tune low, then this is perfect for you. One of my projects I'm working on is an Argent Metal Thall progressive kind of sound, and I'm pretty sure this will be all over it. Yeah, I think this is really, really cool. So thank you very much for watching. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and we'll see you again very soon.